Hello again, everyone. Welcome to today's Fireside Chat, Mustard Hub Voices Behind the Build, where we talk with people building, backing, and running better workplaces. I'm your host, Curtis Forbes. My guest today is Chris Igou. Chris started his career as an entrepreneur, owning a home painting franchise in his early 20s. He spent most of his career in franchising, running and building brands. Today, Chris serves as vice president at CareerPlug. He's been part of growing a number of businesses, but his true passion is coaching others and helping them grow their businesses to reach their potential. Welcome, Chris. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks, Curtis. Good to see you.
So, coaching others extends obviously beyond businesses. Just quickly before we jump into all that stuff, you coach football, you coach kids. How long have you been doing that? Tell me a little bit about, tell me how old are your kids?
So first of all, I love it. It's a passion of mine. How old are my kids? We have five, ranging from 7 to 18. One just graduated high school. Congratulations to her. And I have been coaching. I started my career back in college when I played football, got hurt, and I had a great mentor of mine say, "Hey, why don't you coach with us?" And he taught me how to coach football. And then fast forward, I had a kindergarten age son, and we needed a coach for his team. And I thought I was way too competitive to do it, but decided to say yes, and it changed my whole life. And I've been coaching ever since. He's now 16 years old.
I love that. Probably a lot of the same principles that apply, when working in the world of business. So let's get down to that. Your business. What brought you to entrepreneurship in your 20s, and particularly what brought you to franchising?
So the story goes, it was a bit by accident. I started out in high school. I needed a job and I painted houses. And very quickly, after a couple summers of that, I realized that, I feel like I could do it better than the person who was running the business, like many entrepreneurs probably listening to this. And so I took the leap and opened up my own house painting company. Simple concept, but taught me a lot of the values of how to run a business, and did that for several years, ended up selling that business. But along the way, there's a lot of people in that industry that were franchised. And so by luck, I met several people and made some investment into some relationships, and they got me into franchising. Took me under their wing and taught me kind of the ropes of what does the franchise world look like and how do you do it. And then we spent about 15, 17 years in franchising, running different brands, mostly in the home and commercial services industry. But that's really it was an accidental way into franchising, and just made a career out of it.
Not too many people brave enough to do that so young. So how did you select that particular franchise? I mean, were there others you were considering?
I think that a lot of times it's just taking advantage of the opportunity that's in front of you. So that's really it. I didn't go out and look, oh my gosh, like I want to run a house painting franchise. What it was is like, I knew it. I had met some people. My focus was more about, I want to run a business. I'll tell you what, like it was also a response to the fact that I had to pay my way through college. So I needed a way to make money that was more than, at that time, $7, $8 an hour. And so it was a way for me to do something I had a little bit of knowledge about. I got some great coaching from the franchisor. And then I was able to make a lot more money than my friends and pay my way through school. So that was really the story.
Well, before we keep going, do you have any tips for anyone or folks considering getting started as a franchisee?
Yeah, I have a lot. I think so. First of all, there's a lot of great business coaches out there that can help you evaluate the right franchise for you. So even if you just Google franchise consultants or business coaches, there's a lot of great people that will guide you in the right way. But I would look just for something that you have interest in, something that's going to get you up in the morning. The great thing about franchising is it takes somebody who's entrepreneurial that may not be a true entrepreneur or have that idea, but they know they want to run their own business. So honestly, Curtis, it's more about finding the right people that are going to help you along the way than it is about the actual business in franchising. Most businesses, most franchises, they can all make money. But it's about the people who are going to support you. So I would evaluate the people in the business more than the brand or the concept itself.
Yeah, that's pretty good advice. And I really love how you described the almost the difference between being an entrepreneur and being entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people describe it that way, but it really, I think it really kind of hits the mark. Franchising, as we've gotten into it, have learned so much about the space, and it's incredibly supportive. When you talk about going and reaching out to business consultants or folks who frankly can kind of help coach an individual through that, it's unbelievably welcoming. It's an incredible space to be part of. I think the relationships that you build are, it's really unlike any other space that I know of. So definitely good advice. You started as franchise owner. Now you are VP at CareerPlug. A lot had to have happened between then and now. So I want to hear about that career path. I mean, how did you become VP from, you know, owning a home painting franchise? It must be a long story. I know that there's not
Yeah.
a quick answer to that.
It's funny. I'll start with the advice that I would give is I always look at relationships with people and especially new people that I meet as opportunities. And so this story is derived from that. So I was at the International Franchise Association. I was running a franchise brand at the time, and my brand was really struggling to recruit and hire people. So I had one focus there. I said, I need to find partners that can help our business recruit and hire. And I networked. I went to the people who I knew, Curtis, and I talked to them, and I ended up getting introduced to a gentleman named Clint Smith. And Clint had this new software called CareerPlug. And I got introduced and I said, what does it do? He said, well, it helps you recruit and hire people. Long story short, I was impressed. He was brand new. He's like, I don't even know how to sell this to somebody. But I said, I really like the idea and I think it can really help. And so we sort of bartered. And I said, if you can allow my franchise brand to use it, I'll pay you for it, obviously. But I'll introduce you to other people in franchising. And we created a partnership at that point. So fast forward 4 years later, my brand at the time that I was running for my franchise brand was using CareerPlug. And at one point, serendipity happened and Clint said, hey, I need somebody like you. Would you come over and lead our growth? And he recruited me over, made me an offer I couldn't refuse, moved me to Austin, Texas. And, we're here today at CareerPlug, and we've experienced some pretty great growth over the last 5.5 years together.
So Clint is the founder of
Clint's the
CareerPlug.
founder.
Tell us a little bit about CareerPlug. Obviously helped your that franchise brand recruit. Um, obviously and attract folks. So tell us a little bit about the platform.
So CareerPlug is a software that helps small businesses recruit, hire, and retain talent, recruit and hire and retain people in order to grow their business. And so really what it does, not to be, I don't want to do a commercial here, but it allows that small business owner to post jobs, find candidates, evaluate the candidates, hire them, onboard them, and really engage with those candidates after they've started for their first 90 days. It's designed for small businesses. And so I was attracted to it because I have always been working with small business owners. I was running a franchise of small business owners, and we needed something that was really easy to use. Franchise owners are not, typically HR people or technology people. So they needed an easy solution. And we've been growing ever since. And today, CareerPlug now works with over 60,000 small business owners using our software to help grow their teams.
Love it. So does CareerPlug primarily work with franchises? Is it all small businesses? And when they do, why do they choose CareerPlug?
So yes, on the small business side, we're really focused on small businesses. We have a passion for it. Clint and I both really believe in that. So we want to help small business owners. We do work with a lot of franchises, about 400 brands at this point, but there are independent business owners that use CareerPlug as well. The special thing for franchises and networks that we offer is we have partnership programs that not only discount the price for the franchisees, but it also creates a package that's really easy and is turnkey for the franchisees. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of franchises are attracted to using CareerPlug. We know the business, we know how it works, we can speak the language. Um, but honestly, a lot of small business owners, here's why I would say they use it. And this would go for any tool, software, not software that they're looking for, is small business owners have 12 things to do in a day, right? They're running around.
Yeah.
You're an entrepreneur, right? Like one minute you can be the CEO and the next minute you're taking the trash out as the janitor, right? And then an hour later you're doing the books and you're the CFO again. And so when you have solutions as a small business owner, they have to be easy to use. You're not in them all day long, you're not using it all day. So it has to be really easy to use. It has to save you time. It has to save you money. It has to be good, but it also has to be easy to use. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of small business owners have been attracted to CareerPlug, but also why I'm passionate about helping them out.
Which kind of actually already answered one of my next questions. But so I kind of want to ease into some people topics here. A lot of organizations have people problems. What kind of problems do you see in these small businesses today?
Ooh. In regards to people?
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
people specifically.
Gosh, that could go in a number of directions. I would say the one of the biggest things that I see small businesses make the mistake of early is they they skip the first couple steps with people, which is, what is my culture going to be? What do I want my culture to be? And then how am I going to build that culture? Real world tactics is like, I see a lot of small businesses, they don't know what their mission is. They don't know what their values are. They haven't taken the time to define those things. And so a lot of times I start there. When I talk to a small business owner, I'll ask those questions. And if they don't know the answers to those, and I'm talking really know and believe those answers, that's where you have to start, because those will direct all of the rest of the decisions that you make, you know?
Yeah.
So that's, I think, if I was to summarizing one thing that I would say that a lot of small business owners make the mistake of is they immediately want to go sell, or they immediately want to go make their product, or, no, like, what is your culture? That's where I would start.
It's funny you say that too. I'd even take it a step beyond that, because even when folks understand that that's a baseline where everything starts, it also has to be more than just words on a wall, right? Or words in their manual, or a paragraph that a candidate or an employee reads, on the first day of their job, but then they never hear it again, or they never interact with that culture or that value, or right there's so mechanisms, right, that an employer or a small business owner or whatever can create or can implement, where those values intersect every little thing that you do during the day, I think is also still mission critical.
And they
Um,
have to believe them. Like
yeah,
they,
that
you know,
yes, 100%. So, how often do you see these things, or I guess maybe you obviously you see them getting in the way of growth and progress, right? Is there a way that you can quantify it, or maybe even like a real world story that you can give about how these problems kind of get in the way of their organizational growth and progress, for that matter?
yeah, I mean, I could cite 100 examples, but I'll give you here's where I see it manifest mostly. So for a small business owner that truly takes the time to understand this is what the culture I want to set is, like, this is the value, these are the values of our company, this is our mission, and they really believe it, what it does is it starts to lead into, okay, this is how we're going to evaluate people,
Yeah.
and we're going to look for people with like values. We're going to make sure, and we're going to be really hard on making sure that people have these values and they live them, and those are the only people we're going to bring into our organization. When I see, conversely, when I see the opposite of people who haven't really defined those, they're grasping at straws. And so if I look at a business that has a ton of turnover, and we all know turnover is really expensive, um, if you have a lot of turnover, I challenge a lot of small business owners, like, go back to, who are you evaluating? Why are you evaluating them? How are you evaluating them? Are these people fitting the culture you want? Or are you just really going out and hiring anybody and hoping something sticks? Because if you bring in, and I don't, sure you've dealt with this, but you bring in the wrong person, they can really upset your culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real world example, we had that. I mean, CareerPlug had that in early days. And Clint tells this story, our founder again. He brought in a sales leader who was really excellent at sales, really excellent, but didn't align with the values. And so he started selling a bunch of deals that really weren't aligned with what our software could do. And it caused a lot of problems. It led to significant amounts of turnover and product issues, and delivery, and our customer service wasn't good. But at the end of the day, it was because he didn't really believe in the values of what we were doing. And so he ended up having to part ways and refocus and say, okay, this is what we're looking for, and this is how we're going to do it, and bring him in. So I don't know if that's too generic of an answer for you, but
No,
I would
it's
say
it's
that's
it's actually, and I think how personal the example is pretty powerful. And what's interesting, sort of in line with one of the earlier things that you were saying, but do you ever see clients really attempt to fix a tech problem, an ops problem, a marketing problem that's really a people problem? I mean, do you
all the
see that often, and how do you steer them in the right direction?
yeah, all the time. All the time. It's so I like to call it, like, it's the new shiny toy. And a lot of times it can be, hey, we don't have the right people in place, so what we're going to do is we're going to augment it by buying some software, and we're going to, or we're going to outsource this part of the process. um, what's harder to do is admit to yourself that you made the wrong decision with the wrong person, or the wrong person is in the wrong seat. There's so many books that reference things like that. That's hard, because you have to have real conversations with people. You might have to have, you know let some people go. You might have to have a struggle in the short term. But yeah, no, I see it all the time, and it's usually the shiny toy. It's, I heard something's cool. Right now, it's AI, right? If it says AI, everybody's interested, right? And so I do see that quite often with small businesses, especially.
So when you're helping your clients hire, retain their top talent, solve these people problems, um, I want to hear about the patterns that you've noticed, and how teams either succeed, or stumble and fail, right? When putting recommendations into practice.
Um, yeah. So if I build on what I was saying earlier, the ones who succeed, they follow the process. It's kind of like really three main steps, and it's one, it's define your culture. The second one, on people and related to people, it's, what is my hire process? I just call it the hire process, not hiring, but, so who am I looking for? What's an ideal candidate, right? How am I going to evaluate that person? What are the things that I'm going to talk to them about or ask them about to make sure that make sure I'm sure that this is the right person for me? Because I can't afford to be wrong. When I have, think small business, or when I have 5 employees, if I'm wrong, 20% of my business is wrong, you know? So you have your culture, then you have your hire, and then you really have, what is my retention strategy? Okay. How do I retain people? And that's going to be about, how am I onboarding somebody to have a good experience? Am I connecting with that person? And is that person going to connect with my organization? Uh, what kind of benefits am I offering? And I'm not talking 401k, right? I'm talking, what are the benefits? How am I getting somebody connected, and what are they going to benefit from working here? So culture, hire, retain. When you have all that together, then you have a really good people program. Where I see people when they don't have those, they struggle. So if you don't know your culture, how do you know who you're looking for? If you don't have your hire process outlined, how do you evaluate the right person? And you're just kind of guessing. And when you don't have retention, it's like, how are you getting people connected to your company? What you experience is good people leave your organization. All of those are really painful.
Yeah. Those first 90 days are super critical. Um,
Critical.
and totally get that. So kind of reflecting on what works in the real world. So among the let's say among the teams and the organizations that you admire most, which may in fact be CareerPlug, they might be one of them too. Um, but not just those that you work with. Give me some common traits, of the organization, maybe beyond having these three things, but some common traits that stand out, when they truly get it right, when it comes to finding and retaining the right people. Let's say they have their culture and they know what they're looking for and they're able to retain the right people. What are these characteristics you see in some of these companies you really admire?
Um, I'm going to take a on that question. I'll take a little detour for you.
Okay. I
The
like
so the It sounds a little weird, but like the one thing that I see a lot of really great companies, the ones I admire, is they are in touch with what it is their employees value, and what, really, how do they connect with them, and then they create opportunities for that. And so what I mean by that is, again, I'm not going to repeat myself on the how they know their culture and all that, but they've done the work to understand their employee. The detour I would take on this is, if you're working with this new generation of workers, okay, Gen Z, millennials, like the biggest, part of the workforce today. But if you're working with Gen Z and millennials, you need to understand that the thing they need most, the thing they desire most, is connection to your company, and it's value. Their role has to have value in their life. It's not money, right? Money is table stakes. It's not 401k. That's table stakes. Okay. It's, am I valued in my company, and am I, what I'm doing, is that valuable? And so I think that the companies that I admire the most, they really are in tune with that. They can show, and they give their employees opportunities.
Yeah.
Some ways I see that, if you like really want specifics, it's, there's big and small companies that they have little incubator opportunities for their own employees, no matter where they are, to come up with great ideas and work on those. That can create value. Other ones do, they force it, but they create connection between employees, so that they have, a best friend at the company, and they have people that they can go to. So I think that's really kind of what I see people doing really well.
I love that. I love that. And I think it sends a good message, I think, to business owners, HR leaders about things they can do to start building this culture prior to hiring. I mean, you talk about what is your culture, right? And what are we looking for, right? And then when we find people we're looking for, what happens in those first, 3 months that they're there. I think that those are pretty good insights into making that experience really more effective. Have you noticed any maybe new or surprising ways you feel companies are kind of leveraging software to change how they recruit and hire, to support their people, to foster the culture? You talked about you talked about how anything that has AI on these days, people are like running after. What have you found people are doing, you know, recently that change this process or to help support their people or their culture?
Yeah, a few things. So yes, AI is completely disrupting this industry. Where I'm seeing it effective is in the way that AI can eliminate or significantly reduce mundane tasks. Okay. So as an example, we have a feature that you just type in a job name and it automatically writes your job description using AI. And that's cool. Okay. So that's a mundane task that you can eliminate. I'm seeing AI start to infiltrate initial evaluation of candidates, employees, where AI bots are having conversations with candidates, handling initial type, disqualification type questions or basic qualification type questions. Um, AI is obviously doing a lot of follow up. It's automating follow up between candidates and employers. I would tell you on the flip side, where the new trend is going is on retention software. What a lot of businesses today are realizing is there's just not enough humans in order to fill all the positions in certain industries. Um, there's a reality where you had the biggest generation, baby boomers have now essentially left the workforce. And there's just not enough people to fill all of those roles. And so employee retention is really important. On top of that, there's the reality too that good employees, no matter what the labor market is, no matter if it's a tight labor market or not, good employees are always in demand, and they will leave unless they feel valued. So, retaining those employees is really important. And I'm seeing companies add on software. Look, I'm not here plugging Mustard Hub, but like adding in benefit software, adding in retention software, adding in engagement software, things that are trying to help them automate the personal connection and the benefits of working in a company. That is becoming incredibly trendy. If you're not looking into it, I would absolutely start looking into that.
Yeah. You said something really interesting about how AI is, doing mundane tasks, but also participating in the evaluation of candidates. I'm really curious to hear your take on the efficacy. At least right now, it's clearly in its infancy. I mean, what's your take on that? Do you feel like these organizations are making the right choices when selecting the tech and the software that they use? Throughout this employee and hiring life cycle, um, and how do you feel that? I'm curious how you feel about the efficacy of the AI when it comes to that part of the evaluation process.
All right. So, how do I look at that? I think it's a widely debated topic right now, and it's hot. The answer isn't defined yet. My personal opinion is I think it can be used in a really valuable way as a tool to
Yeah.
help you evaluate. I would absolutely not rely on an AI generated solution to make a decision on a candidate. Either keep, add, remove, any of that type of stuff. So I wouldn't do any of that, but I would use it as a data point or a tool to help you evaluate.
Yeah. A lot of these various systems spit out a lot of data. Do you ever notice maybe a disconnect between what's being tracked and what actually drives results, what works?
What's being tracked and what drives results? I think there's a movement right now to track everything. There's a movement to track it all. Uh, the what drives results is really going to be based on the business itself. Um, so I don't know if I have a clear black and white answer for you on that. Um,
Well, let me ask you a different question. If you could design a dashboard, let's say you're designing a dashboard for CareerPlug, right? And it's going to reveal just one key people signal inside an organization. What insight are you going to want it to surface?
all right, you can tell me this is a cop out answer if you want, but I would probably define that as fulfillment. Now, there's most likely some data points that are going to need to be ingested to determine what is fulfillment, but it's employee fulfillment. And so the data points that I typically would look at is this person achieving their goals? Because if they're successful, they have a higher tendency to stay. If they're not successful, they have a better tendency or higher tendency to leave. Does this person are they connected to the organization? Are they involved in outside work things? Are they involved in committees inside? Do they have friends inside of the organization? A lot of that can be facilitated through things like ENPS, right? Employment NPS. I would also add in there growth. Is this person on a growth trajectory? Growth can mean they're being supported by the company. Growth can mean they've been promoted. They're on track to be promoted, but they have some level of trajectory. Like you nail growth, you nail I'm connected with the company, you nail success. Those three data points would really lead to fulfillment. So
So
maybe a cop out answer, but
no, 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 no. It's taking three things and seeing how you can put that together into one metric.
that's exactly what I did.
Share, tell me a story about a team, a client, a business that experienced a turning point, good or bad, right? It can be good or bad, but because of a people related dynamic. So, or maybe a change in their recruiting or hiring process, right?
When I told the story earlier about our sales leader who was a bad example, and we brought in the wrong sales leader who wasn't aligned with our values, and ultimately what that led to was he was let go. We had 8 people that he brought into the organization. All of them were let go or transitioned out of the company. So it was a real disaster. It was a tough situation. On the flip side, I would tell you we were struggling with our support team. Our customer support team was really struggling to deliver results. And one of the things that we did is we brought in a new leader. We took our time, we made a decision to bring in the right person. And that one person, just one hire, Curtis, completely turned that team around. And they just focused on very simple things like let's deliver on our metrics on a daily basis. All right. Let's get the data of your results in front of everybody. Let's create a more fun culture. Let's have fun coming to work. They just did some really basic things, but the one leader really completely turned that. And now that department with inside of CareerPlug is one of the best performing departments. It has some of the highest ENPS scores in our entire organization.
That leader was you, right?
That leader was not me. That leader was not me. Unfortunately. But I think those are examples of when you get it right, it can be really good.
Yeah.
I would, if you wanted to add in some of our clients, I think solving some big problems like giving them the right technology solution to be able to find candidates, or giving them the right technology solution to be able to evaluate people. That's been a turning point for a lot of our clients as well.
That can totally be transformative.
Yeah.
Especially when that technology, is really nails it. So when you think of tomorrow's, to do a little bit of future focused or forward thinking here, when you think of tomorrow's leaders, what do they need to grasp about people and culture? And you referenced the new generation, right? So I think that I feel like I know what's coming here, but I want you to go into some detail about what do they need to grasp about people and culture that I think a lot of today's leaders might be missing.
I would say you got to understand the motivation of Gen Z, the motivation of millennials. Okay, and that motivation isn't make more money. That yes, they want to make money. Okay, but it's not their biggest. It's purpose and is this valuable? Is this something that I'm doing? Is it valuable to me? Is it valuable to the company? Do I add value every single day? That's what they're looking for. And so it's not like, hey, give me more hours or give me flexibility. Yes, those things are nice, but they're really looking is, am what I'm doing purposeful and valuable to the world, to me, to the company?
Yeah.
That's where I would focus.
As companies become more deliberate about how they support their people, you talked about the shift and how it's very much moving towards retaining their people, and I think as they become more deliberate about this kind of support, how do you see your own work adapting or evolving?
Um, you know, for us, we used to be just focused on attracting and hiring people. Like our software was just that, and recently we've launched employee engagement and employee retention tools, and what we saw was the shift in the market of going, A, we need help retaining our employees. Okay.
Yeah.
That was real need for our client base. And B, we just, we needed to create this connection. Like our Clint, our founder, had a vision. He said, you know what, I don't want to be transactional with our clients. I want to be purposeful. I want to help them grow their business. So I would say that's probably how we have evolved most recently.
It's such an important perspective too, because I think in the world of in the world of hiring, a lot of ATS systems, so much of it has become commoditized that there an effort has to be made, right, to deepen that relationship with your own customers and your own clients, right? You want to retain those clients, right? For and help them well beyond that transaction. So that makes perfect sense. So, business leader comes to you for advice on how to get it right when they're growing and retaining their team. You're on an airplane, you're about to get off, everybody's got their bags, and people in front of you are leaving. You have an opportunity to tell him one thing before he runs down the jetway. What's your advice?
Wow.
There's a lot of gravity to this question here, Chris. You're on the line.
So we've been talking about they are growing in their business.
Let's assume. Let's hope so.
Yeah. Um, Man, I don't know. I feel like I would hope I would come up with something more inspirational, but um, I mean, if they're doing all of this right, if they're doing all of it right, I just want to tell them to keep going.
Yeah.
Um,
And if they're not, call CareerPlug because we can help
yeah,
them. We can.
no, no. I I think, I don't think I'm answering your question, but I think I would remind a lot of small business owners, and I do, just to, hey, this isn't about a new shiny toy. Like, this isn't about what software you're going to go and find. It's about the basics, which is focus on your culture first. Okay. Focus on what you want to be. And then just be really disciplined to doing that. Like, this isn't your question, but one of the things that I see
Oh,
small
it is.
businesses do so often incorrectly is they chase the next opportunity and they forget who they are at their core. We've been really successful because we've said no to so many different opportunities, and we've just stayed razor sharp focused on who we are, what we do best, how we're going to help our clients. That's great. That works. It reduces the complexity within your business.
I'm
So
hearing the coach come out in this question because the reality is, and there's some some very famous and popular sayings out there that you know undefeated seasons, right, or impeccable records don't come from chasing wins; they come from chasing excellence every day. And it's about being disciplined, right? Hard work works. Not to bring it full circle, but we kind of do, right? Because you coach kids, right? And if you're disciplined and if you play to win that down, right? If you play to win, you know, that job on that play, every play, and some of that comes along with focus on the fundamentals, right? The fundamentals are what will win. And it's true in business. It's true on the football field. Those things are kind of the same. So I think that does answer the question. You know, if I may put it succinctly like that.
there's something I tell a lot of the football players that I coach, and it's, I can tell who's going to be really good and who's not. And it's not in a game. It's not who scored the touchdown. It's who loves practice. And those people who are excited to show up to practice every day, like, eventually they're going to grow and eventually they're going to get it and something's going to click. But if you love practice, if you show up every day and you love what you're doing, you're going to win.
You will. Yeah, I love that, and that's a great way to sort of wrap this up, Chris. I love chatting with you. We've gotten to know each other over the last little while, so it's always a pleasure chatting. Thank you so much for being here. This is a fantastic conversation.
Well, thanks for having me, Curtis. It's always fun chatting with you too. Hopefully, there's a nugget or two in this conversation that can help somebody else out.
Oh yeah, and me. I know I'm going to go back and watch it. But thank you all for tuning in to Mustard Hub Voices Behind the Build. If you got any value out of the conversation, share it with a friend or colleague. Check us out at mustardhub.com to see how we help companies become destinations for workplace happiness and turn culture into a competitive edge. Until next time,